Well, there it is.
Hi, and welcome to the third in a short series of podcasts. My name is Lana Bashinsky. In the weeks leading up to GDC, we have been and will be continuing to meet and conduct interviews with the speakers involved in the animation micro talks at this year's animation boot camp. Today, I'm very excited to be here with Mike Jungbluth, who, as well as being a micro talk speaker, is also an organizer and co-creator of the animation boot camp. Hi, Mike.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm lovely.
Fantastic. So other than that, robust intro, do you want to introduce yourself further to anybody listening, I guess?
Yeah, so I guess so that's what I'll be. That's my role at boot camp, and then my day job is I'm lead animator at Volition. Been making games for just a little over 10 years now. I think January was 10 years for me. So worked at a bunch of different studios on a bunch of different games, some of them better than others.
All right. Fantastic. Well, I'm happy to have you here with me today. Would you be able to give us a quick overview of your talk, just like a tagline or something?
Yeah, my tagline is my perception of some animators' perception of the role of game animators.
Fantastic. Not convoluted at all.
No. It's like a perception inception. Yeah, pretty much. It's between running. This will be the fourth boot camp. Between running the boot camp and organizing that and finding talks and getting evaluations and feedback from people. On top of over the last year, we were hiring at Volition, and so interviewing a lot of animators. I started to sort of notice some, what I would say, troubling trends that I think certain animators seem to sort of fall into, and pitfalls that they keep sort of finding. And I kind of wanted to call those out in a sort of rant way. So I imagine that there will probably be some feedback that will say that Mike Jungbluth guy was an a-hole. And I'm okay with that.
A very, very insightful asshole, though.
Well, I think that's probably asking for more than what it will really be. But
it'll be the thing, like a resentful honesty, where everybody's like, "I know you're right, but I don't like it."
Right, and I think that's the thing, right? I think the people who will get angry are the people who will probably find some honesty in it, and then the people who don't get angry will be like, "Yeah, I used to be like that," and a lot of it too, I think, is all of us probably fall into certain pitfalls, and it's just good to sort of self-evaluate and see where we can all kind of grow and get better, and yeah.
Definitely. Something, I'm glad you mentioned it actually in your tagline. I haven't mentioned it in the last couple talks. I've already spoken with Gwen and Billy, but I didn't mention at all like the theme of the micro talks, which is going to be perception.
Yes.
So just sort of, we have a wide variety of speakers from different parts of the industry who all are bringing, 10 years plus the experience, or much less than 10 years experience, and different roles, and technical animators and journalists and leads, and it's I'm really excited about the whole kit and caboodle going on.
Yeah. It was so when we approached you about the idea of doing a micro talk, and you came with the idea of, hey, what if we use perception as this sort of umbrella? We were like, yes, that's awesome, and also, yes, we picked the right person to spearhead this thing, because this is the first, obviously, micro talks we'll be doing, and it's sort of a mini boot camp in and of itself. And as you've sort of been with the boot camp from the beginning, starting as a CA and now as a presenter, right? I think it's really cool to have you sort of spearheading this, because you've seen sort of all the different facets behind the scenes and during and afterwards and all that stuff. So yeah, good idea, you.
Yeah, and same to you. I think the thing that really sort of inspired me the most I was so excited when you guys approached me. I think I read the email 10 times before I managed to reply. But I think, so one of the most exciting and interesting parts about the micro talks is that we've sort of tried to base them around the culture of animation in games rather than the actual process of animating, which is what the rest of the day is about. So it's definitely going to have a much different vibe. In many ways, Billy was talking about the mocap suit he'll be donning for his talk, and I think it's going to be a really fun time.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to sort of cap the day, right? Because we do have a good mix of creative and technical talks and process throughout the day that I think it's really easy to sort of get burned out by all of this like knowledge coming at you, that I really like having these micro talks at the end, because it's 10 different viewpoints from 10 different people. And it's all sort of just like inspiration that I think is a great way to sort of allow you to just sort of feel the experience, as opposed to like mentally insert yourself and be like, okay, what are they saying here? How are they doing this? Let me scribble down notes, all of that. And I think this is a great way to just cap off the day.
Nice little detox and motivational boost back into the rest of the week. Are we on Monday? Do you remember what day? Do you know what day?
It'll be Monday. It's always Monday. I think they're working on the schedule right now, so we'll probably find out in a week or two, but it's always Monday.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the rest of these interviews, I don't know if you had a chance to check out the other two, but I wrote sort of this questionnaire we've been rolling through that's more getting to know you.
Cool.
Because we don't want to talk about the talk too much, because it is sort of these condensed bites of information, experience.
Yeah.
They're going to be, they're micro talks. They're so short as it is. I don't want people to be burned out on them before we even get there. So do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
No. There's something about, I like the fact that these interviews will probably end up being longer than the talks themselves.
They are several times longer than the talks.
Yeah. There's I like that.
It's a special cohesion between the two of them.
Yeah.
We get to say everything here that we don't get to say during the talk.
I like that.
So first and foremost, if you could do anything other than what you're doing, what would it be?
Oh man.
Did I send you these questions before?
No, you didn't.
Oh,
you didn't.
man.
But that's okay. No, this one makes me laugh because I think we asked a similar question on this on the Reanimators podcast, and my question's always kind of a cop-out. I don't know.
That's not an answer.
I know. It's not. I think at the time, it's hard. So now after 10 years, I feel like I'm broken, and that I probably couldn't really contribute to society in any other way.
It's not like, this is a dreamland. It could be anything you like. Do you have a weird hobby or something that you do? What's the same thing?
No, you know what? Maybe, I get a lot more political, and I would probably go maybe somewhere into politics, I guess, and then just hope that they don't find like some weird blog I wrote when I was 13 years old, because that would probably just like instantly knock me out of the running.
So do you have a weird blog you wrote when you were 13 years old?
Oh God, if I did, I hope I deleted it.
I know I have one, but the website that I wrote it on has since crashed, and that weird 12-year-old brain is wiped from the internet.
Yeah, it was probably like some AOL GeoCities thing with like lots of sparkles and like marquees and MIDI music.
One of those cursors that like follows the mouse with like some stars.
Oh, I'm sure. It was like probably one of those bouncy balls or something that like had really bad lag on it, and you're like, why did you do this? And it's like, because I just learned HTML.
It was so cool. Yeah,
no. God, I hope not.
So what are you most excited about for GDC 2016?
It's the boot camp. Easily the boot camp and the roundtables. Sadly, I won't make the roundtables this year. I'm only going to the first 2 days this year. Then I got to fly back. But yeah, those are my favorite part. And just the rest of the time hanging out with all of the animation boot camp people. Right, like this is one of the few times where I get to hang out with a bunch of different game animators and game devs. For the most part, the places that I like to live are not in the cities. So like Volition is in Champaign, which we're a one studio town. So it's not like if you live in one of the hubs where you get to sort of talk and interact with developers from other studios very often. I just love that, just getting to hang out and shoot the breeze, and the stuff that happens before and after the boot camp are kind of also my favorite times.
Wonderful. I think it's such a silly question to be like, what are you most excited about? As if somebody's going to be like, well, there's this very specific session. I think everybody's just mostly amped on that group environment again. Even if you do with somebody where there's a decent hub, I think like the excitement level is just well over 9,000 at GDC.
Yeah. We've over now that it's been like what this is the fourth or the fifth? I can't remember. I think this is the fourth boot camp.
I think so too.
We've kind of built like this like extended family that we get to interact all year through social media and stuff, but it's become this family reunion where we get together every year and you're like, oh, how's it been? And you're trading stories and you're wondering what people are up to, and you're excited for the people who have released stuff and succeeded at things, and you're swapping horror stories if something isn't going right, and if somebody's kind of in a bad place with their job, or personally you're like there to help like lift them up and give them hugs and stuff, and that's the stuff I love. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, speaking of horror stories, you may have answered this question once before when I had you on for the tea time thing. It's my favorite question to ask people because I feel like it always brings people down to earth. And that is, what is your most embarrassing or funniest or worst mistake that you made as a rookie on your first gig?
Oh, man, everything. I think it's like, there's the easy one, right? That's like, the first thing they had me animate was a jump for the player character. And I was like, all right, this is my first animation. I got to do this right. So when you animate jump, like I really got that anticipation down there and like got that pose and set. And they're like, oh yeah, looks great. Let's get it hooked up in game. And we hook it up and you press the button and like 45 frames later, the dude finally jumps in the air and they're like, by that point, you've already like slid off the cliff and died, and you don't even see the jump. And yeah, that doesn't work. I was like, no, that doesn't work at all. Like, let me cut off those first 45 frames. Oh, okay, now it works. How do I make that look good? Thus speaking on the love affair with games of how do I sell a thing without all of these things that they taught me in school.
The form versus functionality debacle.
Right. How do I smoke and mirror things like anticipation and follow through and all that good stuff? So I guess that'd be the big one. Yeah, that would probably be the large one. And then it's just kind of like repeating that same mistake, right? Like then you get like, oh, now I've got to do some turn animations. Oh, let me do, and you like make the same mistake of like, oh, let me like get him down turn. It's like, no, he needs to turn right away, or else you're just gonna like have that enemy like always perpetually like 15 frames behind as you're like running around kiting them, and it's just miserable.
I had a friend who never. They always ragged on video game animation. They're like, it's impossible. Like, you can't use all the principles because there's never anticipation. You press a button, it's just got to happen. And I forget who it was, but they pulled up a clip of Charlie Chaplin where he has this bit where he's got like, it's basically like a big weeble wobble, like a punching dummy thing where like you hit it and it goes, and it like comes back like every gag like you've seen like that.
Right.
And he has no anticipation. I think it's 2 frames of him, human man, going from standing. Like there's like a weird breakdown pose where his wrist is kind of up like this by his body, and then his arm is fully extended, and he's punching the thing in the face. Yeah. I was like, that's just a dude. Yeah, it's incredible. He's such an amazing, crazy reference that you never would think that would be possible. See,
that's the cool stuff, right? It's because it's how do you, and this is where I always get like super geeky and excited about game animation stuff, because like that principle doesn't go away, right? It's just how do you sell it in a different way, or how do you sort of, if I can't show the anticipation on the player character, then I really need to sell the follow through on the person that got hit, right? And stuff like that gets me super excited. Or how can you sort of telegraph that anticipation by something in the world, right? And now, okay, the player's already anticipated it, so in their mind, they've already sort of seen the squash of the character because they saw the gap coming, right? So they've already anticipated it. So like all of this stuff still goes on. It's just transferring it to different areas of the game and or the player experience. And man, that stuff is super cool.
This is sort of perfect, like nice little segue into this. You talking about anticipation and follow through. Do you have a favorite piece of video game or animation jargon?
Yeah, probably. So I found myself using two things quite a bit lately. I either say texture. Let's see if we can't texture the timing of that piece, or texture the acting of it, which is usually just my way of saying, let's see if we can't sort of find a breakdown there, or do something with the timing just to vary it a little bit, right? So I find that one quite a bit that I use. And then the other one I've been finding myself use a lot is activate. Like especially if I see somebody using like we're doing some facial stuff, and we'll kind of hit some poses, and I'll be like, I feel like you need to activate the face there, or activate that pose a little bit, which is probably just a way of saying get some sort of sub pose going on in there, or just a little bit of follow through, something to go on so that it doesn't feel like a held pose, but not something so much that you're changing the intent of the pose or the storytelling of the moment or the expression of the face, just something to sort of activate the character so that it sort of feels alive, right? I guess those are two that I've been leaning on quite a bit lately.
Oh, I think that activate's a beautiful term. Sort of like, rather than just like, give it life. I think activate is a very specific sort of intonation to it.
Yeah. I don't know if it makes any sense. I don't know if when I'm using it in critiques at work, if I think
it has that sort of ambiguous sense where if you just said it, it's like, well, what does that mean? And you could like go specifically, like, move his arm or whatever. But
right.
I think it just like, it feels right. You feel it more than you know it.
Yeah. And I think I've been using it too because it is a little ambiguous. I think it still allows people to sort of still make their own creative choice, and have ownership of what they do within that moment, with the character and with the scene. But it's my way of saying, like, give it just that little bit extra. Do something. I don't care what it is, right? Like it could be, if it's a face, just give it a little bit of a squish, or if it is that pose, just let that arm sort of follow through just a little bit more. It's up to them. Just activate the moment a little bit.
Beautiful. So what do you hope people take away from our micro talks?
Just excitement and sort of enthusiasm, and hopefully, I would love something as grand as like sort of a paradigm shift in their thinking of, I was really kind of either mentally stuck or mentally focused on this one thing, and this awoken a different way of thinking in me. Something like that would be grand, right? I don't, who knows what.
Would you say you hope it activates something?
Yes. There you go.
I got you.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
So I do have like another like sort of silly question, but we only have like 2 minutes before I know you got to scoot out of here.
Yeah.
So rather than that, how about, do you have any final thoughts for people to mull over in the weeks leading up to GDC and the boot camp?
Nothing like that could ever be as important as a silly question, so I want the silly question.
Beautiful. Well, the silly question I love, because it's ridiculous and it needs to be truly useless. If you could have any useless superpower, what would you choose?
Oh man, we used to in college try and figure out what people's useless superpowers were. Like one guy just had really stretchy skin on his face, but just his face. One person always sneezed when they looked at the sun, but I guess that's kind of a common thing.
My favorite one I've heard is you're invisible, but only when yelling.
Only when yelling. Yeah, that's really good. Useless superpower. You know what? This one's kind of dumb, but I've been sick like the last 2 weeks. I'm just finally feeling better, and now unfortunately my wife got my sickness, and I don't know if it was a cold or if it was the flu. And so I think it would just be nice to be able to be like, that was a cold, or no, that was the flu. Not necessarily to be able to, like, sure, it'd be great to be able to like, and you're cured, but just to be able to like correctly identify those two things would be a pretty great useless superpower, I suppose.
You're not saving anything. You just know.
No, just want to know. When you're miserable laying there, you can be like, damn cold. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for hosting all of these podcasts and sort of corralling all the cats for the micro talk. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, we will. I'll see you at GDC.
See you then.
Cool. See ya.